Hello and welcome to this Drought Watch update video for Thursday, October 6th, 2022. And like every Thursday, the U.S. Drought Monitor people update the drought situation across all the United States and some of the islands and territories of the United States. And you will see here on the national picture, there's a couple things that stick out. The drought situation is still bad in the west. There's an increasing drought situation in the Central Plains, which, if you recall, going back about several months ago, back in, I believe it was in July, I mentioned that drought was going to increase in this region, and it did. But there's also something you will notice now. Look in the east. The drought situation has improved greatly in the Mid-Atlantic, down here across through Florida, and Southeast. The Northeast, it improves somewhat, but once you get northeast of New York State, it's still relatively dry. There's still some more improvement needed, but New Jersey has gotten better. Pennsylvania has gotten significantly better, and a lot of that is because of Hurricane Ian. Now take a look at the precipitation here across this past week. As you can see, the Southwest was relatively dry. The Rockies had a little bit of precipitation, generally on the amounts of half an inch to up to 2 to 3 inches, maybe a couple isolated spots north of 4 or 5 inches. But on the general order, 2 to 4 inches of rain has fallen in these yellow areas. Then you get to the midsection, you can see relatively dry except for the Gulf Coast of Texas, and up to the north there was anywhere between 1/4 of an inch and an inch of rainfall. Taking a look at the southeastern states and through most of the east coast states, you can see it was very wet, generally in the areas where Ian was. And first off, taking a look here at Florida, you can see here in this pinkish color, that's anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of rain, with a few spots mixed in the purple and white of 15 to 20 inches of rain. Then you come up here to just east of the Appalachians, all the way up into New England, where we have still some wet conditions. Right along the Great Lakes, there was some lake effect rain, and that was attributed by the winds blowing across, colder winds blowing across warmer waters, and there was an area there that saw 5 to 8 inches of rain. But you come across here to like the Mid-Atlantic, like Philadelphia, New Jersey, South Jersey, Delaware. There's an area swath of 4 to 8 inches of rain, isolated amounts near 9 inches of rain, and I can actually show you here. There was one area in New Jersey, check this out, Lacey Township, New Jersey, had 9.52 inches of rain. This is because Ian, essentially what happened with Ian was it came, it stalled off the coast of New Jersey as a nor'easter, redeveloped as a nor'easter, and it just sat there, and it finally cleared out yesterday. Alrighty, taking a look at future rainfall amounts. Well, here's the 6 to 10 day outlook. You can see here in the southwest region, slightly above average. Alaska is actually going to be above to likely above average. So that's some good news, because they do need rain in that area, although they just had a massive storm up there, which did somewhat help things, but they could always use a little bit more rain at this time of year. Taking a look up here into the northwest, relatively below average precipitation for the 6 to 10 day outlook. And if we fast forward this, but first looking here in the east and the northeast, near normal. But if we fast forward this, you can see this dry conditions actually spreads further east into the eastern states, and it's not going to be all that wet in the eastern states, but it's going to be above average, continuing Texas on back even into parts of west or eastern California. It's going to be above average, so that's some good news for the drought situation. Taking a look at Alaska, it continues to be above average conditions. And we'll take a look here at the Gfs model. And on the Gfs model, you will see here, first of all, starting with today, things are much quieter in the east, finally drying out here in the Mid-Atlantic region, where Ian was stalled for 5+ days with clouds, showers, even periods of heavier rain. Long Island yesterday actually had thunderstorms, believe it or not. And fast forwarding here, you'll see a cold front does come through in the east, and conditions get relatively chilly and drop below average this weekend for the Columbus Day weekend in the northeast. And you can see here there's some unsettled weather down here in the Four Corners region, and that continues into next week. You kind of get this little bit of a monsoonal flow, which sets up, which is relatively unusual for this time of year. But there is a precipitation flow that sets up here. And middle of next week, another cold front comes in. Take a look at this. And ahead of that, there is a little bit of moisture activity in the southeastern states. And you can see here maybe some thunderstorm or shower activity ahead of this cold front that comes through. And you'll see here, I'm going to take it to the 500 millibar, a big upper level system here. Almost cuts off of the jet stream. And it's really cold for this time of year. You can see the heights go down to 534, which that is some really cold weather. And let's take a look at the temperatures here, shall we? Here's the 2M shaded temperatures, and you can see here, now we're up to October 15th. Look what happens at the nighttime lows. Lows below freezing, even all the way down into the Rockies of North Carolina. Really cold weather, and with that cold weather, it's going to be drier. But if we take a look at the southwest, you can see yet again, there's a little bit of some unsettled weather. And that will allow for some precipitation, hence why they're showing a 6 to 10 day and a 8 to 14 day period of above average precipitation in that area. While the east is going to be somewhat dry, there's going to be a little bit of an unsettled period here with this upper level low that's going to generate winds out of the northwest, and you might actually see a period, I'm going to zoom this in, you might actually see a period where there is some lake effect precipitation coming off the Great Lakes, and if you're right along those areas, you could see a fair amount of precipitation, and some of that could be in the form of snow showers if it's cold enough. But for the most part, it will be rain during the daytime, and some of these areas could see a good amount of precipitation if this GFS run is to be correct, where right along the shore areas you see maybe 1 to 3 inches of rain, just simply because you have that persistent northwest flow coming off the lakes, generating areas of rain, just like what we saw when we go back to the precipitation here. Remember, we were talking about there was areas right along the Great Lakes shore areas where they saw anywhere from 5 to even upwards of 6 inches of rain right along the coastal area. So generally, overall, on the national level, it's not going to be all that active over the next 7 to 14 days. And we're going to continue to see these cold fronts come through with these large drops of below normal temperatures from the upper Midwest right on into the Northeast. Here comes another one that comes around October 18th with well below normal temperatures, but also dry conditions. And it's possible that one of these troughs maybe tries to get a coastal system going to far New England, and that would provide some relatively stormy conditions. But for the rest of the country, relatively quiet. Alrighty, thanks for watching this Drought Watch update video, and we'll do another one of these next Thursday. Remember to hit like and subscribe down below if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.